Hey everyone, can you hear me? Sorry, we had a few technical difficulties there, as always happens when we do these things. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Freddy. I work in PR and marketing at Bluethumb, and we thought it was important this week especially to have a webinar and touch base with everyone because we know a lot of you are in a similar situation to us in Melbourne, in the strictest lockdowns we've seen, and are probably all feeling a little bit deflated, a little bit sad. I know I am, and I'm going to try and not cry right now. But I'm sure you can all empathise with the sort of the numbness and the emotional feelings that probably a lot of us are going through right now. Also, talking on on that point, actually, before I continue, I would also just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're all meeting, the Aboriginal people of mainland Australia and Tasmania, and also the Torres Strait Islander people from the Torres Strait, and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Due to the lockdowns, we've obviously had to shut the Melbourne Gallery completely now. I mean, it has been shut for a while, but previously we were going in, taking it in turns to go in to do things that, operational things, but now I'm afraid we can't do that at all. So please don't send anything to the gallery for the time being. You can now send it to our new Adelaide Gallery, which I will tell you a little bit more about soon. And you might possibly, if you're lucky, even get a quick tour of it. But it depends. The Adelaide crew have been having some technical difficulties as well this morning, so I'm not sure if that'll actually happen. Going back to sort of the logistics side of thing with the gallery, obviously, freight and logistics, it is at a reduced capacity at the moment. Our Melbourne framers are able to operate still, but they're doing it through online orders and contactless delivery, and would encourage you, any of you that do framing yourselves, please check with your framers and make sure that your service is still available, and if not, please update your listings. If any Melbourne artists can't send orders due to the lockdown, remember to put your account onto holiday mode. Buyers can still inquire, and just as long as we're communicative, they're still happy to purchase often. If you need any help at all with that, please reach out to us at help@bluethumb.com.au. Also, unfortunately, due to the lockdown and not being able to go to the gallery, we've had to shut the art supplies shop. But there is lots of information. Hopefully all of you are members of our Bluethumb artist group, so you can easily search through there, the discussions. Lots of people have suggestions for things like where you can buy boxes. It's a really, really useful resource for anyone that's new to Bluethumb. So on a bit of a happier note, I thought I'd just start off. Later on, Sheeraz will be taking over and taking you through all the new framing options, which I think a lot of people have seen, and we're super excited about it. It looks really cool, and we're already getting lots of orders, so it's working well. Sheeraz will take you through all the details, everything you need to know, and the future plan with that. So now I thought I would just go through, I don't know how much of you watch our social media, but I thought it would just be fun to kind of take you through some of the good stuff that's been happening during COVID. And one of those things especially is we've been getting some really great quality press and PR, and that's because we've been working so hard to survive and been doing so many awesome things. So I just thought I'd give you a quick rundown and invite you to collaborate with us too if you would like to put yourself forward for any media. One thing that's been working particularly well is I've been selling myself a lot, as usual. Yeah, I have turned my house into a Bluethumb showroom pretty much. Behind me, you can see some lovely works by lots of our artists. And yeah, I've got some professional shots done of my house. So it's a really great way of getting press actually, and it gets us lots and lots of links to Bluethumb artists. So any of you that are big art collectors, have a nice house and want to take some pictures, please let us know. We also are always super keen for you to do collectors blogs. They're the most popular blog that we do. So yeah, recently my house got featured in Apartment Therapy, which is one of the biggest interior design blogs in the world. It's given us tons of traffic and quite a lot of international sales. So it worked well. If you would like to participate, please let me know. Some of our artists have already done it, like Sally Brown. She did a house tour, which was absolutely awesome. continuing the theme of selling my own soul, I also sold my partner out, and we did a How We Stay Together article with The Guardian. And really the idea behind that was just to show off the commission that I got done for our 10th anniversary, which is right behind me, by Kim Lutweiler. Yeah, and it worked well. More sort of considered and you know, a real success story for us is it's been amazing to see all of our artists have been selling well. We've grown our sales during this time, which has been amazing. And then one thing that we really were worried about was art centres, our Indigenous art centres who had to close, not being able to make sales. So we put a lot of work into marketing. We sort of figured out logistics. A lot of us have got Indigenous artworks in our homes from our art centres to be able to send them ourselves. And because of all these initiatives that we put in place, we actually grew our Indigenous sales by 110% in the last quarter. And amazingly, that got picked up by The Guardian, The Australian in their business review, and also Broadsheet. So yeah, it's really lovely to be able to put out those positive news stories during these difficult times. Speaking of Broadsheet, we've also just opened our Adelaide Gallery, which, as you probably all know by now, if you saw our newsletter or if you've been paying attention on our social media, it's on King William Street at 72A in Goodwood in Adelaide, and open 9 to 4 Tuesdays to Fridays. So please drop by if you're in Adelaide, and please direct any art lovers you know, any collectors to come check us out. It's a very casual, lovely space, and Amelia and the team there have done an absolutely incredible job of making it look awesome, with a real like diverse selection of artists as well, really showcasing all our different price points and all our different styles. We also, this month, are in Home Design magazine. So we get a regular feature usually in their creative spaces section. And this month, or this quarter, I think they do quarterly magazines, it's Forrest Harder in there, one of our photographers. He's absolutely awesome. Check out his work. And please, yeah, buy Home Design and have a look yourself. Finally, this is the most embarrassing one. Back to selling my partner out. Last weekend, I was actually in the Herald Sun, which is not my favorite publication, but I have it here. And here it is. Mr. Grungle, my husband and me, and I'm wearing a very lovely Bluethumb logo there. Being the Murdoch press, they don't stick to the agreement, so they didn't interview me. They didn't mention Bluethumb, but hey, I got the logo in there. And more importantly, I got some free dog food, so it was really worth it. If you want to check out our press, please head to bluethumb.com.au/news-and-media, and you can have a look at all the awesome press that we get. We're always working hard to find new buyers through finding, you know, getting our story out there and promoting our artists as much as we can. Okay, now I'm going to try and get Sheeraz on the line. Oh no, this is not good.
It's all right. I'll start talking anyway.
Here we go. Change host. There we go. All right, people. I'm going to bow out actually and leave Sheeraz, you in the capable hands of Sheeraz. So thank you so much for your time, and yeah, stay safe and stay sane, however you can. All right. See you later, Sheeraz. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Freddy. Hi, guys. Thanks for Freddy for taking us through all of that. It's been, like he said, it's been a pretty difficult time. And we've all sort of been working through it. You know, it's been difficult for everyone on different levels, and we've been understanding of that and just been doing what we can and do what we do best, and you know, throughout the whole time. It's been pretty good in terms of PR, as Freddy said, and we've been through Freddy's and team's hard work we've been through in such good publications. It's good to see positive steps that we've taken make some waves, which is really good. Anyway, I'll move on to mostly I'll talk about framing, sort of just give you an introduction, our thoughts on it, what's the plan in the coming weeks, months with it. what's our approach, what's our view on it, and also some of you have sent through some questions and concerns, and I'll just go through each of them and sort of address that. If just a little bit of admin on the side, if you are sending through questions, make sure that you either do that in the Q&A section at the bottom, because the chat can get quite busy and it's easy to miss questions on that. And with the Q&A thing, I can actually mark it as answered, so that will be easy. Cool. So framing. Well, this is something that we're really excited about, and from just, it's been 4 days and the response has been really positive, and we're really happy with the way it looks at the moment. And also, like in the past few months, quite a few months, we've had so much, so many inquiries about this, so many requests, so many suggestions from our collectors about framing, because this is, although not every collector, every buyer wants their artworks framed, but this is something that everyone thinks about. And it's really good to have an option. So we took the leap, and we entered phase 1, and we're going to try this pretty cool feature. And it's been, like I said, in the first 4 days, it's been really lovely to see the positive response from our artists and our collectors. We are talking to them over the phone about this, and just in general, as we usually do, and it's been quite positive. We are taking suggestions and about what they think. And a really uplifting and sort of encouraging fact is that we are getting a decent amount of good orders for framing already. We had quite a few on the very first day, which is a really big thing, because that goes to show that none of those collectors had took any time to decide whether they wanted something framed. They didn't mull over it for a week and stuff. They saw the option on the first day and then put the order through. That is a really encouraging factor for us. It's a good sign that we can put more work towards it, make the process work better, learn from it, learn from this phase 1, see how things work, make it better, make it more efficient, make it more automated, consider more factors. Anyway, also, it's been a really big project. It's an ongoing project, and it is one of the bigger projects that we worked on, because it's such a complicated, not a complicated, but it is such a widespread factor, because it touches literally every aspect of the art buying process, from consideration of the artwork to size to price to artists to sending it to the framers to getting it framed to getting it to delivered to the clients to getting it hung. It literally touches all of those aspects, which we sort of like call different steps in the art purchasing journey. So we have to consider all of those things, a lot of hundreds of variables that come into it. And with complicated projects, what we do, and the whole tech industry does, is we release, for the first time, we release something that is called an MVP, which is a minimum viable product, which basically is ground zero. So we've created a product that does its job well, even though it might not cover all the variables possible in the very first go, but it does what it's designed to do as phase 1 well. So we've released that, and now the journey sort of starts from here, because now we actually are in the real world. We are learning from real collectors, real experiences. We are getting real feedback from artists and collectors and framers, and all of those things involved. And we take all of that in, learn from it, and enhance this as we go on. And so, as soon as we released it, we saw quite a bit of good feedback as it got noticed from artists and collectors, which was really positive. Of course, like with that, suggestions come in as well, which is really handy. And it's really good to see that the artists, our artists, you guys are so engaged, and it helps us sort of improve something so quickly, because that real world feedback is so important for us, because when something goes live, everyone has sort of different opinions, how you perceive it, how you think about it, how you think it might affect, it might not affect your practice. So it's really good, and it's good to see those comments and those suggestions come in. We really encourage that kind of discussion, because the only thing we can the good thing we can do from it is learn from it and sort of build from that. So in terms of suggestions and discussion, we saw on the Facebook group that a lot of you guys were discussing, and there were some really good comments. One thing I really liked in particular that I personally liked is something I think Joe Duffy said about reserving her judgment, which is really good because why not? I mean, it's a new thing that is coming out, and even though we're really excited about it and we've had really good feedback, but obviously, like you try it first, see how it works, and it might not work for everyone perfectly, but that's what we are doing. So we're doing phase one, and then we consider all the things that are not working or can do better and or are not included, and sort of enhance that in phase 2 and 3, and sort of move on from there. And like everything else, sorry if you're getting background noise, just ignore that. Like everything else, like every project that we do, whenever something goes live, we thoroughly test it. We consider all the different factors from artist and buyer's point of view. And even once it goes live, we keep testing those things in terms of like A/B testing. So we show it to a certain amount of people, and then we don't show it to a certain amount of people and see how their behaviors change. We actually do in-person user testings where people come into to our galleries. They actually use the site, use the features. We don't say anything or guide them in any way, just sort of notice their behavior and how they interact with it. And we try to learn from it without prompting them or without giving them any kind of information, which is really handy. And that's how we learn. That's our learning process, so we can improve things. What I'll do is I'll jump on to the questions and concerns that you guys sent through, just so that we can go through all of that and we don't miss any because of time. And then I'll check with our Adelaide team if they are ready, and if they are not too busy with walk-ins, because finally, because they can still have walk-ins, which is pretty cool. We get them to jump in as well. Cool. So I'll just go through your questions and just sort of answer them. There might be some repeats, so I'll just refer to them. Just bear with me as I set this up. Also, I don't have all the names, so I just have comments, so I'll just read them out and sort of answer them. Someone just said, I don't want to use them, I don't trust it. That's understandable, although we're just starting out, and sort of trust is for anything is built over time. You can't trust something or not trust something immediately without trying it. So we will be trying the framing options. We start with the way it works is that we work with local framers. So it's not that there's one particular workshop, and it's also not, we are not working with people working in a factory making frames or anything like that. These are local framers who've been framing artworks for artists for years. So they understand all the aspects of it. We've handpicked a few framers because we needed for them to understand the process exactly and sort of provide certain services, such as basically being able to take online orders, set up for notifications so we can keep getting updates on where the artwork is for a particular order, so we can keep the client updated. And also, and one of the more important aspects is they should be able to deliver the painting once it's framed. If they're in remote, metro areas, they can deliver it personally, so they can actually give the client a call and just say, hey, your piece is framed from Bluethumb. When would you like to receive it? And then they can actually deliver it. That includes weekends, after hours and all of that. So that will be a really big push to the service that the collectors get in terms of, not just waiting for the courier kind of thing, which I think will be really handy. Someone asked if we should still be putting hanging wires on the back of stretched canvases which are not framed. I would say that yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, because if the client has selected framing, then you don't need to, or if you already have it, leave it as is, because the framers can reuse that if it's already there. If it's not there, and if the client has selected framing, you don't need to put it there because they will frame it and put the hanging wire. But if the client has not selected framing and it's going as is, just as a stretch canvas, then yes, please do put the wire. So it's a case by case basis thing. There's no sort of one blanket answer for that question. There's a question about Melbourne in stage 4 lockdown and how we arrange shipping. So just quickly, the couriers and logistics works as business as usual, no change in that. So if you're using Bluethumb's couriers, just book them as per normal. You won't have to do anything differently. If you're using Australia Post and you can't go out, that's absolutely fine. If you're based in Melbourne and can't get out, just use Bluethumb couriers and book through that and we'll ship your artwork. That's not a problem at all. There's a question about artworks on paper and prints. So like we've mentioned, this is phase 1. We've only taken on canvas, linen, board, and a couple of canvas, linen, and mostly board. So that includes like cardboard, wood, all of those artworks. They can have like a floating frame around it. In phase 2, once we have a better understanding and have real life experience of the frame, we'll get other medias involved as well. So paper, prints, all the watercolors, everything will sort of come into it. We didn't do that because it sort of increases the scope of the project, and it would just take more time. So we have to do it in steps. It's a long question, so I'm going to read and summarize it. So one of the two concerns that we got from the about 15 comments that we have is about returns. So if someone gets your artwork framed and returns it, what happens? Do you keep the frame? Is that any exclusive? If someone buys an artwork, it's framed, and then they decide to return it, you get the artwork back with the frame. There's no exclusivity clause. There's no pricing clause. You're not being forced to sell it at the higher frame price. So when a painting is sold on Bluethumb with the frame, the price doesn't change, as you would notice. So it still stays at the same price that you've put on it. And even if it's returned, it will stay at the same price. With these situations, in terms of whether you want to remove the frame or if you don't like it, do you want to keep it or remove it, that will have to be decided case by case, because it's difficult to answer that question on a wide scale because there's so many ifs and what ifs involved. So if an artwork gets returned with the frame and you're absolutely not happy with the frame and you hate it and you want to remove it, just let us know. It's not going to be a problem. You're not going to be forced for anything at all. There's a question about photography prints. It's not covered yet. It will come in phase 2. There was also a question about having different sizing options for photography, even though it's not related to the topic. That's something that we have been working on with the photography project, and it will eventually be in place. It's not in the dev pipeline at the moment, so I would say it won't be an option in the next probably couple of months. But it's something that we have worked on thought process-wise, and it will be, at some point, it will be done. So clients will be able to choose different sizing, and you will be able to offer different sizes for a print, for a photograph. There's a question about, due to COVID restrictions, I can't collect frames, so should I remove them and change the pricing and then et cetera, et cetera. So I would just say don't change anything at the moment. Just we've informed all of our collectors that Victorian artists have certain restrictions, especially when it comes to framing or any external movements. So they're completely understanding of it. All you need to do is just in the artwork listing, if you've listed it as framed and the frame is not currently on it, just mention it that there might be a bit of delay of a week or a couple of weeks because of the restrictions. That you don't have to change any pricing, you don't have to make them unavailable or any of that. Amanda Krantz asks if framing is also for prints if they are on canvas or linen. Yes. If they're on paper, not yet, but they will in the future. There were a couple of questions about how to be more visible on the site. I would suggest going through the help center. We've set up quite a few articles and really comprehensive, detailed instructions on what you can do, how advertising works, how marketing works, how keywords work and hashtags work, and all of that. So you can sort of go through them, read them when you've got a bit of time and sort of try them out. There are quite a few features on your profile as well, like promote features, where you can actually use different links and sort of share it in a different way to see what's working for you and what's not, kind of thing. So to go through the Help Center, you will get a lot of helpful information there. There are a couple of questions about getting the work accepted in Bluethumb's physical galleries. I would suggest just email the help email. I can't answer that question here because the selection process works with the curators. So it will have to go through them. More questions about the same returns thing. I've answered that before. There's no exclusivity required. It will still be listed and sold as framed as it was originally listed, so it's stretched and ready to hang. In terms of frame, keeping it, removing it, all of that will have to be dealt case by case basis as it comes. We strongly expect that there won't be any returns because once it's framed, because of the framing, it sort of enhances that kind of experience. But when and if that happens, we'll deal with that on case by case basis. Sharing Prod had a question about OSPOS delivery being updated. No, you don't have to wait 7 extra days. Whenever it was delivered, if you're marking it delivered late, we backdate it. So you get paid based on 7 days from when it was delivered and not when it was marked delivered on Bluethumb. There's another question about whether you can still use your own framers or list the artwork as framed. Not at the moment, because the system is just, there's no option for you, like for us to individually mark certain artists, certain things, because we have to try and see the overall result of it. But if at the moment, the short answer is no. If someone's selecting framing, just talk to us if there are any issues, and then we can handle it on case by case basis. But for now, if the frame is selected on a particular order, as per instructions in the sold email, we'll have to ship it according to the process, so we can actually judge the process the way it's meant to be, if it's working or not. There was a question about the sold feed algo. We are trialing out a couple of AI-based behavior analysis tools. So basically just seeing if seeing certain artworks at the top of the just sold feed or like mixed throughout the pages, it changes the behavior of the users and how it affects their behavior on the site. So we're going through some testing on that end. So you might see the sold feed at certain times out of chronological order, which is fine. It's just something we're testing out. There's another question about returns that I've answered. There's a question about pricing of the frames, and that it seemed slightly more than what you would pay to your local framer. Yes, it will be $50 to $100 more than what you would pay to your local framer, because it involves a couple of really important aspects, which takes away work from you, from us, from the collector, of going to the store for you to go to the framer, for you to bring the artwork back, for you to pack the artwork once it's framed, for us to deliver framed artwork. All of that is being taken care by the framers. So that obviously will have a certain fee, and if it's $50 to $100 more based on a medium to large artwork, it's a pretty reasonable fee for a pretty good service, where the client can simply click and order a frame and get a piece delivered to their house, completely framed and beautifully packaged. One other common concern that came up was about thank you notes and certificate of authenticities. Like I said, the framers that we are using and we will be using in the future, these are professional framers. They have been working with artists. They're not, these frames are not just, your paintings are not going to a factory to, put ready-made frames. These are custom frames being made for your painting based on the order by a professional framer, and they've been doing this for years. So if you're sending any thank you notes, if you're sending the certificate of authenticity, if you're sending any gifts, if you're sending your cards, all of that will be neatly tucked in with your painting, and it will be delivered when the painting is delivered as framed. Obviously, those things will not be lost. That is one of the major discussions we've had with them, because that is a key aspect of the experience of getting a painting from an artist, from a local artist, and not from something factory made. So that obviously will be intact and kept. A couple of questions about returns. There was a question about not getting the client details. It's a good point. The reason for artworks that have framing selected in it, we've removed the collector details like their name and address, just to avoid any confusion, because if the artist hasn't read the email properly and they just see the address because they're used to it, they can just simply ship the artwork to the client, which can cause a bit of confusion. That's why we've removed that for now, but it's a good point that you guys need the names and at least the state and addresses where it's going, so for your own record, so you can get an idea of the demographics. That's the point that I'll raise and we'll discuss about, and we can probably at some point make that available to all our artists about where their paintings are selling and who's buying them, kind of thing, so you can get an idea of what your target market is. That was a really good point, and we'll definitely take that into contact. There's a question about how do we photograph our work if you're not framing it. We have quite a few blogs, or we've got a very good blog and quite a few articles on how to photograph and list your listings. Go through the help center and go through the blog and you get all the answers. If you still have questions, just jump on chat or send us an email on help and we can send you those links. Cool. There's another question about can we offer on framing. At the moment, the framing options, like I said before, they are uniformly on all artworks. As we move on, as we go into phase 2, phase 3, we can consider a lot of these variables and we can work on it. But for now, if and when an artwork is sold with a frame, we give you a call and we can just, if you have any questions, we can deal with it that way. But for now, we follow the instructions that have been set up in the emails and in the articles that we've sent you. Cool. That's the end of the questions that we received. That's very cool. Let me see, there were a couple of questions that had come in before the webinar was announced as well. I hope we still have 10 minutes. Okay. Question, do we take masonite boards? Not yet. Are we framing paintings on wood? Yes, we are. There was a question about, can you provide blank frame outlines so we can put that on our paintings? That is a good suggestion. We'll aim to do that. We'll try and make certain frame backgrounds available for you so you can actually put it on your listings if you want to do that. There were suggestions about when you click on a frame, it should show on the image of the painting itself. That's something that we've considered. That's going to be in phase 2 because right now a lot of artists use in situ images as the first one, as the main image. So we can't do that because if you do that straight away, it will look a little bit silly with having a frame around an in situ image. That's all the questions that we've received relating to framing and sort of thereabouts. If you have more questions, feel free to send them through help. I'll invite our Adelaide team now to show possibly around the gallery and also take on another few points if they have them. I'm just going to keep reading the questions until it jumps on. Question about boxes. Boxes, we have been trying to get on the order, but because of the lockdown and the situation, it's just been a little bit difficult to get on the order. So we'll try and get that sorted and let you guys know. Jen is asking if there's a different framing company in each state. There are a couple of different framers that we're working with, and we continue to take on more framers as we grow and as we get different orders in different areas, because we want to service each particular area as well as we can. But for now, we're working with one major sort of national company that has different outlets in different states, and we're taking it from there. And then we've already started receiving quite a few applications from different framers, and we'll sort of go through them, talk to them. We just have to make sure that they have the services that we need and they can promise those particular services and the quality standards, and then start working with them on trial basis. There's a question about how do we choose which artists to feature. I can't answer that on the webinar here. We go through our articles, talk to our curated team, email us on help if you wish, and we can talk to you about that. It'll be easier that way. There's a question about how do we select artworks for our Adelaide Gallery? Like I said, talk to our curators, email us on help. It all goes to curators at the moment. There's a question about hacking the thank you notes. I've addressed that question for Kanak before. In terms, well, one thing I didn't cover is the increase in time from when the artwork is sent out and when the artwork is delivered, and of course the delay in the extended amount of time before artists are paid. We expect that the overall increase would be between 3 to 5 days. We have to quote more days when we are telling it collectors to keep a margin, but turnaround time for framing is 2 days at the moment, 2 to 3 days when the artworks get delivered. So it will increase overall the delay in framing, delay in payment to maximum 3 to 4 days. We don't expect it to be more than that, but that's something that we're gonna have to see based on how the orders come in. Again, keep in mind that framing is optional for the collectors. Not all paintings sold on Bluethumb will be framed. Graham was asking how to get more visibility on the site itself and how to get on the front pages. How to get on the front pages of the site. I'll answer that quickly. With searches, if you want to get at the top, make sure that you're including all the relevant tags. So, I mean, we've talked about it extensively before. So if your painting is of a peach, make sure that you're putting as many words as you can think of that people might want to search for when they're looking for a seascape. Make sure your titles are proper, make sure your sizing is proper, your images are good, all of these things. Go through the help center. There are articles on how to best list your works and what's the best practice. It all should be there. If you're selling stretched canvas, do we click NA? If you're selling stretched canvas, just say that it doesn't have a frame because that NA applies for artworks that are either on resin or round or materials that are not listed on those options. There are a couple of questions about if you sell a painting privately. Will Bluethumb ask you for any commission? No, we don't do that. You only pay commission when you sell something through Bluethumb or if the lead was generated through Bluethumb. So if someone saw your work, contacted you, and then came to see you, we expect you to put the order through Bluethumb just because the lead was generated through Bluethumb. But if you're selling something at a local art market, we don't charge you commission for that. There are a couple of suggestions about adding more collection options. That's something that's in the works. It takes time to collate that and put that live. It will come through soon. Can you nominate a framer in your local area? Not at the moment. If you want to send their details to us at help@bluethumb.com.au, we can have a chat with them, as we will with a lot of framers in the coming few weeks. So we'd be happy to talk to them. Cool. Look, I've gone through all the Q&A questions and I will try and see if I can spot any questions in the chat. I can hear Ed, but I'm not sure. I think they're having some sort of technical difficulties. I feel like I'm on the news. I think that's it. We might end the webinar here. We went live on the Facebook group as well. So if you have any questions, leave it there. But yeah, feel free to send in any more questions to help directly. And again, thank you all for joining. We are communicating with our clients in terms of delays with the COVID restrictions, so just be understandable in terms if there are any delays. Just be careful with framing or going out. If you're having issues with going to OSPOS, talk to us. We'll book the couriers for you. Communicate with us through email or through the chat, and we'll try and help you with framing. As we started the webinar with, a good way is to try it before making up your mind about it. That's how we're going about it as well. So we're excited, we're looking forward to it, but we're going to try it in real life, see what the experience is, see what the feedback is, learn from it, and go from there. There's always room to improve. That's pretty much our motto. And we'll keep working on it. Cool. All right. Thank you for jumping on, guys. I'm glad that we've only gone 5 minutes over. And we'll try and do another webinar soon for the Adelaide Gallery because we did promise a tour, but we couldn't. But we will do that as soon as we possibly can.